Peace. All praise and glory to the mighty Most High, our Creator, who is one God. There is none like Him. Blessings be to any person, male, female, Gentile, Hebrew, stranger, Nephilim. Blessings be to you if you turn back to one God. If you don't turn back to one God, then no blessings will be upon you. I am a servant of the Most High. I love the Creator. My lessons are to bring people back to the rightful worship of the Creator, who is one God, the Spirit, the living Spirit, the self-existing eternal Creator. Exodus 12, the Passover and the festival of the unleavened bread. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in Egypt, again, we went over this before, the Lord, 3068 of the Strong's Concordance, the proper name, so when they say Lord in this passage here, they're talking about the proper name of God of Israel. This is the self-existing, eternal Creator. Okay? Those, many Hebrews call this God Yahweh. Okay? Those in the province of Jerusalem today call him Jehovah. So you have two different names. Okay? Yahweh's for the Hebrew. Jehovah is for everything. Excuse me. Jehovah is for everything other. So the Lord said to Moses and Aaron in Egypt, the Lord, Egypt, showed you this. Egypt equals bondage and slavery. This month is to be with you, the first month of the year. Now, I've been reading this Bible. I don't know anything about this. I'm very humble when it comes to reading the Bible. So if you have the months, which I'm probably guessing that the month for this, and I could be wrong, I'm just guessing. Like I said, I'm guessing would be the end of March or the first part of March. Okay? So if there's somebody that's out there that's hearing me, that's a Hebrew, that's watching this and knows the answer to this and wants to correct me, I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn, continue learning. I don't know everything. I'm humble. Anybody who tells you they know everything about what's being said in the Bible, they have to be the devil. They have to be the one who's written the Bible. It's funny that I say that as I'm sitting here writing the Bible. Okay? Tell the whole community. Here, this is another word that they've tricked us with. With what? Communism. They've taken the word community, which is to commune, and this is why the word commune is in communism, because those that are of the free world do not want community. See, because community is when the community deals with everything, right? You have some numbnut that's in your neighborhood and he's all wacko in the head and stuff, and he thinks that he can go around, he can burn shit down, or some wacko that's smoking a crack pipe and he's raping children in your community. Then the community deals with the nature of that evil demon. And they can either, beat him down a couple of times, they can either extinguish his light, or they can kick him out of the community, and everyone knows who it is. He's not allowed back in the community. That would be a pretty harsh lesson, Get the shit beat out of you a couple times. Instead of the cops coming in and protecting your ass for what you've done, put you in jail for a few days, and then tell the community, don't worry, we're dealing with it. Well, we're going to let him out, We know that he destroyed your daughter's life. We know he destroyed your son's life. We know he did that, but we're going to take care of it for you. Sure, you're right. They're going to take care of it for you. So a community is about communion with people, a language inside the language. A community of Israel, to the whole community of Israel. Okay, Israel here are children of light. This is why they're called Israelites. That on the 10th day of this month, each man is to take a lamb for his family, one for each household. If any household is too small for a lamb, they must share one with the nearest neighbor, having taken account the number of people there are. You are to determine the amount of lamb needed in accordance with what each person will eat. The animals you choose must be a year old with no defects, and you may take them from the sheep or the goats. So here we're looking at, this is going to be important, okay? Defects. Because you're going to start getting into areas of the Bible now that are telling you that when you sacrifice anything to the Lord, it is always to be without blemish and without defect. So that's going to play later on in the lessons when we start looking at Jesus having the shit beat out of him before he was put on that cross. That would make Jesus a blemished defect, okay? Take care of them until the 14th day of the month, when all the members of the community must slaughter at twilight. Now, again, folks, there are a lot of parables in the Bible that the Creator says that sacrifice is an abomination to him. And then there's a lot of other parables that say that when you sacrifice, you're to bring sacrifices that are without defects or blemish. So you have two different worlds that are colliding with one another, two different stories that are taking place in this Bible, okay? I know in the creation story, when Adam and Eve were created, that they were placed inside of a garden, and all trees bearing fruit were given to them as food. No animal was ever given to Adam and Eve inside the garden. They were cast out into a world of sacrifice. Okay? So I don't believe in any kind of sacrifice at all. It doesn't wash correctly inside of my eye, in my soul now, with the scales removed from my eyes. All right? Why would the Creator create something to destroy it if he's a creator? He didn't. What he did is he created something that destroys. He created the destroyer of nations. He created an energy force. Okay? So I'm not real big on slaughter. Okay? Also at twilight, right before sundown. Because why? I keep trying to tell everybody here in this plane of existence that we are vampires. Okay? Face it. We're flesh eaters. Okay? The Gentile race has probably always been flesh eaters. Adam and Eve, the bloodline of Adam, were cast out into a world of flesh eaters. They were cast out into a world of vampires, because that's what vampires are. They're flesh eaters. And they feed off of the animals. We feed off of the animals. Then they are to take some of the blood and put it on the door frames of the houses where they eat the lamb. Now the lamb, again, a reference to Jesus. So could all of these times, asking question, could all these times be the lamb, the sacrificial lamb in this testament about Jesus? Because we know that Jesus was supposed to be the sacrificial lamb. That same night they are to eat the meat roasted over the fire. Again, isn't Satan the god of fire? Isn't he the one that loves flesh to burn? Think about that now. Does the Creator, really, the Spirit, the self-existing, eternal Creator, require you to roast meat over a fire? Satan is the one that loves fire. This is why everything in this plane of existence is required as a hell's kitchen. You cook, you burn, you rotisserie, you deep fry, you microwave, you oven fry, you bake. You do all these types of different, they're all the same thing. They're all what? Cooking meat. And it says, as we go on, you're not to boil. Let's get to it. That same night, you're not to eat the meat roasted over the fire, along with the bitter and herbs and bread made without yeast. Do not eat meat raw or boiled in the water, but roast it over the fire, because Satan is the god of fire. With the head and legs and all the eternal organs. That's just, it sounds to me, that's disgusting. Here, let's just throw a piece of meat up there. Let's not clean it. Let's not cut its hair off. Let's not do anything. Let's just throw this animal on top of a fire. Let's cut its throat, slice it, man. Let's spill its blood, throw its blood all over the altar, throw it on the fire. That to me doesn't sound right, folks. Sorry. Killing any animal at all wasn't the deal. It was the deal for Satan. Satan wants us to eat that flesh. Okay? With the head of the legs and organs. Do not have any of it until morning. If some is left till morning, you must burn it. This is how you are to eat it. With your cloak tucked under your belt, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. Is there anybody that might be able to tell me why you're eating a meal with the staff in your hand? Eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. On the same night, on that day, I will strike down every firstborn of both people and animals, and I will bring judgment on all the gods of Egypt. Gods of Egypt. Again, Egypt is slavery. The gods of Egypt, right there. Now you have more of an understanding exactly what the gods of Egypt are. This is the second time now that gods is used as a plural. Now you realize that it's mankind, it's the Gentile that we're talking about. Egypt is bondage and slavery. And God, the Creator, is going to what? He is going to strike down all the firstborn animals, and I will bring judgment on all of the gods of Egypt. That is flesh that considers themselves gods. I am the Creator, where it says I am the Lord. Okay? I prefer calling the Lord the Creator as well, man, because you know that the Creator created something that eats, and that's why you have eat in the word create, because duality exists. The Creator created something that consumes. He created Adam and Eve and put them in a garden, and more than likely it was in another type of realm or something, but those angels that had free reign came inside of the garden and coaxed Eve into eating that fruit. And then Adam and Eve were cast out into this world of destruction. Okay? I am the Creator. The blood will be a sign for you on the houses where you are, and when I see the blood, I will pass over you. No destructive plague will touch you when I strike Egypt. This is the day you are to commemorate for the generations to come. You shall celebrate it as a festival to the Lord, to the Creator, to the Spirit, a lasting ordinance. For 7 days you are to eat bread without yeast. On the first day, remove all the yeast from the house. For whoever eats anything with yeast in it will be cut off from Israel. On the first day, hold the sacred assembly, and another one on the 7th day. Do not work at all on these 7 days. So, could somebody put, if they could, break it down to a calendar and say you're not to eat on these 7 days from March 23rd to March 31st or something like that? Go ahead and write that down in the comment section. I'd appreciate it so I could take notes on that. Except to prepare for food for everyone to eat. That is all you can do. Celebrate the festival of unleavened bread, because it was this very day I brought you out of Egypt. Celebrate this day as a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. In the first month you are to eat bread without yeast, from the evening of the 14th day to the evening of the 21st day. For 7 days no yeast is to be found inside your houses. And anyone, either foreigner or native born, who eats anything in it must be cut off from the community of Israel. Again, community is always communion. That's why they were so powerful, because they were all one unit tied in with the Creator. Eat nothing made of yeast. Whenever you live, you must eat unleavened bread. Then Moses summoned all the elders of Israel and said to them, Go at once and select the animals and slaughter the Passover lamb. Take a bunch of hyssop, dip it into the blood in a basin, and put some on the top and both sides of the door frames. None of you shall go out your doors until morning. When the Lord goes through the land to strike down the Egyptians, he will see the blood on the top and both sides of the door frame and pass over the doorway. And he will not allow the destroyer to enter the house and strike you down. Who's the destroyer? Darkness. Satan. But who's Satan? Satan is the flesh. He is the body. The United Nations. So we have something, an army that will be coming through here and striking them down to enter the house and strike you down. Obey these instructions as a lasting ordinance for you and your descendants. When you enter the land that the Lord will give you as he promised, observe the ceremony. And when your children ask you, what does this ceremony mean to you? Then it is the Passover to the Lord, who passed over the Israelites in houses in Egypt and spared our home when they struck down the Egyptians. Then the people bowed down and worshipped. The Israelites did just what the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. At midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn in Egypt. Okay? Now, the Lord striking down the firstborn in all of Egypt. This is exactly why people call the Creator a maniacal, murdering God within himself, and why would you follow a God like that? Well, because first of all, he's a creator, and the Pharaoh and his people didn't pay attention to what he was saying. Okay? So, he struck down the firstborn in all of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, who was set at the throne. And remember yesterday what I said about the word throne? It has the word one in it because only one can sit at a throne. To the firstborn of the prisoners who are in the dungeons, and the firstborn of all the livestock as well. Well, folks, remember now, he's already put a plague on all of the livestock, and all of the livestock was wiped out once already. And then he had a hailstone that came along and was supposed to wipe out all the vegetation and any fruits or anything. So all the livestock and any food that was left inside of Egypt was wiped out and destroyed. Not only once, but according to what this Bible is telling us over and over, that they've been wiped out multiple times. So each one of these miracles that is being performed in between these lots would have to be like between 3 to 5 years. Where are this livestock replenishing from if everything that was in Egypt was wiped out? You got to ask yourself these questions. You got to see. I see it now, man, as I read it. Before I couldn't understand it. It always blew me away. I didn't understand it. Now I do understand it. They're stories. The Bible's been hijacked, and because now it's been hijacked and there's so many lies, it makes it easier for you to see the truth. It's like you can see the trees through the forest. Whoa, I can see that tree, man. 20 trees in. You see that tree? 20 trees in. I can see that tree now. That's what it allows you to do. It allows you to see the scriptures and the lies and the truth. That's why it was done that way. Pharaoh and all his officials and all the Egyptians got up during the night, and there was a lot of wailing in Egypt, for there was not a house without someone dead. Well, I thought the Egyptians were living in, the Israelites were in Egypt too, so you can't say that if people had put a Passover on both sides, put the blood on their door frame, on both sides of their door frame, on top and on both sides of the door frame, then there had to be some houses in Egypt where someone hadn't died, because the Israelites hadn't left Egypt yet. They're still inside of Egypt. So how did all of the houses, there was not a house, not one house without someone dead? That would imply that every household in Egypt had someone dead, and that just can't be accurate, because the Israelites have not left for the Passover yet. Here's your Exodus right now. During the night, the Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "Up, leave my people. You are the Israelites, you and your Israelites. Go worship the Lord as you have requested. Take your flocks and your herds as you have said, and go. And also bless me." Why? Why would Moses bless the Pharaoh after everything that he's done? How many times he's hardened his heart? Why is the Pharaoh even got the balls to ask for him to bless him after all he had done? Because the bottom line is 12:3, what it says. Egypt is, the Pharaoh is Egypt. Egypt is the masses. Egypt is the Gentiles. And it says in 12:3 of Genesis that I will bless thee, Gentile, that bless thee, Hebrew, and I will curse thee, Gentile, that curses thee, Hebrew. So the Pharaoh understands that all blessings come through the children of light. the Egyptians urged the people to hurry. The people in this case are Israel, to hurry and leave the country, for otherwise, they said, they will die. So the people took their dough before the yeast was added and carried it on their shoulders in kneading troughs wrapped in clothing. And the kneading, folks, tells you right away, what is it? Mankind making bread, kneading bread. Why? Because Adam and Eve, Jacob, Isaac, Abraham, all of them were born into a world of sin, and a place that had everything that was given for food to Adam and Eve was taken from them. And then a marketplace. Adam and Eve were tossed into a created marketplace that existed already, that the Gentile had already turned into a marketplace. Everything was for sale, and within that cell was one of the first pieces of thing that was ever created, bread. The Israelites did as Moses had instructed and asked the Egyptians for articles of silver and gold for clothing. The Lord had made the Egyptians favorably disposed towards the people, and they gave them what they asked for. So they plundered the Egyptians. Now that makes no sense why they'd use this word plunder. If the Israelites were asking for silver and gold and clothing, and the Lord made the people of Egypt disposed towards them. So why would the Israelites now have to plunder the Egyptians? The Israelites journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth. There were about 600,000 men on foot, besides women and children. Many other people went up with them, also large droves of livestock, both flocks and herds. Now remember, the Hebrews have plenty of livestock because none of their livestock was ever touched. So in order for the Egyptians to have had more livestock after all their livestock would have been destroyed, would have had to come from the Israelites. Large droves of both flocks and herds with dough the Israelites brought from Egypt. They baked loaves of unleavened bread. The dough was without yeast because they had been driven out of Egypt and did not have time to prepare food for themselves. Now the length of time the Israelites lived in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of the 430 years, to the very day, okay, someone's got to know this day on this plane of existence, all the Lord's divisions left Egypt. Because the Lord kept vigil that night to bring them out of Egypt, on the night all Israelites are keeping vigil to honor the Lord for the generations to come. The Passover restrictions. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "These are the regulations for the Passover meal. No foreigner may eat of it. Any slaves you have bought may eat it after they have been circumcised." Okay, now folks, this has always been a hard one for me to understand too. If the Lord had wanted people circumcised, wouldn't he have created them out of the womb with their penises already circumcised? Again, this is a tradition of man, cutting the foreskin off of your child's penis, and it just, to me, it doesn't sound right. I'm circumcised, but it doesn't sound right to me, right? But the temporary residents may not eat it. It must be eaten inside the house. Take none of the meat inside the house. Do not break any of the bones. The whole community of Israel must celebrate it. Okay? And why do you suppose they don't want any bones broken? I mean, even the Lord in 34:20 of Psalms says that I am the Lord, I protect all his bones, not one will be broken. So again, this would have to probably do with blemishes. You don't offer up any blemished sacrifices to the Lord. the whole community. As I said earlier, remember, community is communion. Okay? They call it communism. You see, the free world doesn't want community. They tricked us with this word communism. You have to start looking deeper inside of the word and see how it's broken down, because there's wordcraft inside of the words within themselves. So community is not a bad thing. Communism is not a bad thing if communism means communion. Okay? Governments don't want you communing with one another. They want you broken up in different groups. They don't want the entire country coming together and saying, hey, no more, man. We're done. Get out of office. We're not voting for you guys anymore. We don't want you in office. You've already plundered enough from us. You've already poisoned us with your food. You poisoned us with the air. You poisoned us with the water that we drink. You poison us with GMOs. It's endless. And until people stop voting these parasites into office, they will continue to have power over you. But temporary residents may not eat of it, or the bones. The whole community of the Israel must celebrate it. A foreigner residing among you who wants to celebrate the Lord's Passover must have all the males in his house circumcised. Now, how would you confirm this? You know? Are you having everybody drop their pants and say, let me see your penis, man? I got to see if you're circumcised? You know? Is that like a bend over and cough technique, man? Let's see if you got any dope up your rear end. Is that the way it is? Let me see your penis and see if you've been clipped. Then he can take part like one born in the land. No uncircumcised males may eat of it. The same law applies to both the native born and to the foreigner residing among you. All the Israelites did what the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. And on that very day, the Lord brought the Israelites out of Egypt by their divisions. All praise and glory to the mighty Most High, our Creator, who is one, the self-existing eternal Spirit. I am so blessed to know God today. And I really do enjoy working hard to bring a message that leads people back to the rightful worship of the Creator, the self-existing eternal Spirit, the living God of truth. Okay? This Bible has been hijacked. Okay? There's two sides to every story. And sadly for Christians, you're only getting one side of the story. And this is why it's so important when I say to you, when I'm arguing my point, the only way that you can argue the Bible is for you to read the Bible, find your own theology of what's being said in the Bible, because without reading the Bible yourself, I'm telling you, you're never going to find the contradictions. You're always going to be ran down that road. Excuse me, I just sneezed. You're going to be ran down that road, folks. So always walk right with the Creator. Repent. Ask Him to place His Spirit of truth on you. You got to get the Spirit of truth, not just any spirit. You don't ask for any spirit. You must be direct in exactly what you ask for. You ask for a woman, you're going to get a woman, but what kind of woman? So you have to be specific in what it is you're requesting from the Creator, because without being specific, you don't know what you're getting. That's why it's so important to ask for the Spirit of truth, the Spirit of truth to be placed upon you. All praise and glory to the Creator, the self-existing eternal Spirit of truth. Blessings to all those that serve the Creator. Blessings to all those that try to walk upright in a righteous path, the short and narrow path that leads us to the rightful worship of our Creator. Do not take the wide road. that leads to destruction. Peace be upon you. Shabbat Shalom. This is White Raptor News Ministries.